11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com. Oh, we're muted. So there we go. Maybe we'll start the show now. Welcome, everybody, to our Daily Gun Show. Come to you live every day. On Fridays, we go live at midnight Eastern, and we talk about guns and what the Second Amendment protects. Focused mostly on what YouTube's got going on, but with eye and an ear to what's happening on the rest of the internet as well. So as I open up our
happening on the rest of the internet
video here we go. We'll get a poll going for the people that are listening to us live. So we do this show live. It's most of the people that listen to it are going to end up listening to it as a podcast, as audio, but we do record it live here on YouTube. Can't type and talk at the same time. So we usually have a poll going each Friday, and people can join us live, can participate in this poll for free. Doesn't cost anything. How was this week for 2A? Was it a great week? Or let me copy and paste this. I guess I could show you what I'm doing over here. Oops, by clicking the right button, not the wrong button. Got the puppy co-host here. A lot of people say that you shouldn't have dogs on Second Amendment stuff. So we have a puppy co-host. And what's happening here? I'm over here making the, what do you call this thing? The poll. Add a couple more options over here. And bad week. So let us know. What do you think? Was it a great week, a good week, an okay week, or a bad week? Feel free to leave a comment with your why for the answers to that. And we'll take a look at it and try to monitor it as we go along here tonight. I don't always do that, but sometimes I do. As you can see, my co-host falls asleep pretty quick. So we got him in the puppy cam down here at the bottom of the screen. Also at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a scroll. And it's saying, our Patreons make it possible for us to spend time on projects like these. Thank you. And then it's got the address for our Patreon/gun websites. So Patreon is essentially a place you can subscribe to what we do. A lot of people will buy us a cup of coffee each month. Some of them are buying us lunch once a month. So $5 a month, $25 a month. It adds up. And that pays for our 3 servers and the domains and some of the software. We don't have a ton of software. Would like to add some more. So if you're thinking about throwing some of your capitalist resources towards what you value, the creation of content that doesn't have a bunch of incentive to make you purchase things, then we appreciate it. People on YouTube also, we have channel members over there. So those people that help us keep going are much appreciated. We just sent some messages out to them over the week here to let them know what's up and where we're going. But yeah, looking good. So Foss is telling us that the cork, oops, clicking the wrong one. The cork has ended. Right on. And we saw the little message show up on the screen. I can't highlight the message, but it showed up right as I was posting the poll. So that probably kind of, what's the word? They reacted. They neutralized themselves. All right, so we got the poll going. We're going to be taking a look at the description of the video here, and I have been working on some things because it's Black Friday, and I have not been posting this over to where I would normally post it. So let's do that right now. You always get a little bit of behind the scenes, or at least you got the potential to see some behind the scenes here. I drink a little bit of my coffee. Actually, it's hot chocolate. I'm trying to get tired so I can go to sleep. So we're going to go to edit this video. So everybody hold on. This is where, this point in the ride, you're going to have the padded bar come down over your lap so you don't fall out. We're going to go inside the editable part of this video, and we're going to highlight with a Control A and a Control C everything on the screen right there, and we'll just slip right back out like nothing ever happened. In fact, Control I dare you. Control C, everything on the screen right there. I dare you to find the scar. You'll never know that that even happened. Just like when the aliens, that's all the aliens do. They cut you open, but then they Control Z and they undo the surgery. So you just never, you did have the surgery, but then you also never did have the surgery. All right, now we're going over to Substack, which is a blog essentially. And we're going to go to our dashboard and click on new post. And then we will literally post everything we just copied over there. And I'm going to post it without any formatting. And look what happens. Boom. It all gets automatically formatted into a fairly decent presentation right off the bat. I can take this little line right here, which is the Daily Gun Show episode number, zap it right there, and you can't see where I'm copying. I'm zagging this from, but I just zagged that from off screen, and I didn't have to hardly even do nothing except one paste. I could bold some stuff here. This is called formatting. Makes it look a little easier, makes it the eye understand the stuff a little bit easier. And behind the scenes, it tells the robots on the internet the significance of these bullet points, for example. So there's some reasons to go in here and format this stuff. YouTube don't care because YouTube thinks it's the internet, but the internet does care. And my goal here is to help promote all of these projects that we're taking a look at, all of these people and all these organizations. In order to do that, we want to have effective stuff out there. We want to present it the way that the internet can absorb it the best. And that's what we're doing with some of this formatting. And then, hey, special bonus, humans can understand it, can see it a little bit better. Now, because of the way that, what is this called? Substack works, I'm going to need to take the URL of this video itself and make that the actual first thing that happens on the blog. And then you'll see why that is in a moment. But when I paste it in there, boom, it becomes a preview for the show. Pretty neat. All right, we're done. So effectively, or essentially, that's all there is to it. We'll click one button here to say continue, and it'll let us do some things like add tags to it. We'll add the tag weekly wrap up. And now we have a post over here that we can share or whatever, but we can also use it in this what we're doing right now, because it's a lot more interesting to look at than, well, let's compare it to YouTube. Here's what YouTube looks like with no formatting. All the data's there. Yeah, it's there. But over here, it actually looks interesting. And you can see the preview of each of the thumbnails, of each of the videos. So you can see what's happening as we're going along here. And because I have a Windows machine, I can double click on the browser that fills the screen. I can get rid of Foss's thing there. And then we'll wiggle the scroll wheel while I hold down the control key, and that enhances it. It zooms in. So now we're essentially doing a PowerPoint presentation with this Substack. All right, well, so there's a little behind the scenes. Let's dig into it. This is our weekly wrap up for November 24th, and this is our 1635th. How does this go? 1635th episode of the show. We started this show in 2016. So we've done 1,000 episodes, and then we said, let's keep doing it. And then we did 1,500 episodes and said, all right, let's keep doing it. And we're at 1,635. So we've been doing this for a little while. Appreciate the people that listen to us as a podcast out there. We have Patreons that make it possible. And then we have the listeners out there that listen, right? So it's quite a few people. We know that because of the way that the mechanisms work. But if you'd like to say thanks and help us out a bit, click on those thumbs or those likes or those hearts or whatever it is that the platform you're listening to this on, what you listen to this on. Give us a like or a thumb or whatever. A comment is even better. But those platforms don't get a lot of those likes and stuff. So it really helps us out. And I'm going to go ahead and suggest, maybe every once in a while when somebody reminds you like this, head over to those platforms, those places where you retrieve your podcast from, because there's lots of them. There's no way to know which one you use. There's so many of them. And most of our podcasts go out to like a dozen or something. So we just have to say the podcast platforms. But go out there and highlight or thumb up or whatever. Appreciate the ones that you listen to, not just ours, but the whatever ones you listen to. All those people out there, the human beings on the other side of the microphone or the speaker or whatever it would be, appreciate it. All right, so episode 1635. We're going to dig into some 2A stuff. I didn't get to watch all the 2A stuff, but there's nothing stopping me from opening up the email. I usually get most of my 2A news as an extract from the NSSF, what's it called? Something like the government bulletin I subscribe to. Essentially a newsletter that comes out on Fridays usually, but in the afternoon for me. Imagine that's almost the evening for back east. And it's a pretty decent sit rep, a summary of the week. I don't love the NSSF. I don't hate the NSSF. I acknowledge that they're not perfect and they do dumb things once in a while. So I don't love everything that they report on, but they do it the most concisely and the most with the most focus, I think, the broadest focus. Maybe that's the way to say it. All right, so we'll use that a little bit when we get to that portion of the show. But we do this live on YouTube. The audio goes out to a podcast. We also post it on Patreon. We post it here on Substack that we're looking at, and we attempt to put it out to a newsletter. I need to do that more. Somebody out there keeps telling us about newsletters lately. So the idea is to get the information that we're about to talk about, the links, the keywords, the references, out on as many valid platforms as possible. When we post something to a podcast, a lot of times we can post the description, and that description includes all these links and mentions of the different projects and people that we're talking about. And that's part of the goal, is to write their names on the internet as often as possible. For people that don't know, that's how the internet works. The more often a thing is said on the internet, the more often it is linked to on the internet, the more weight it has on the internet, and the more often, the more tendency the internet has to recommend it going forward. So our goal here isn't just to talk about this each week. I would probably put a lot more effort into it if I just wanted to talk about this. I'm not trying to be a radio show. It's just to facilitate the transcript, which will happen. The robots on YouTube will turn this into a transcript, and that's very useful because we're again commenting on the stuff that happened throughout the week, giving it unique words to associate and be melded into. So our Patreons are essentially helping us create some substance on the internet, more than just a news feed each week, a reason to talk about, so that we have a place to place ads. In fact, there's no ads except for me talking about Patreons and occasionally our store. I'm not here to sell you nothing. I'm actually here to encourage that you would be part of this. I really think the way that we end the fight is by educating both sides. The people on our side just need to understand there's a way more effective ways to have conversations with the other side to educate them and create awareness. And then the people on the other side just don't understand, period, right? They're not given an opportunity to really understand fairly. So let's create those opportunities. We all know the results of that, and that's that the fight ends, people chill out, leave us alone, or become gun owners. And we take all this time and resource that we've been using to defend ourselves from a fight that's calculated and used, created to be used against us. If that was done, think of all the help we could be doing to things that matter. So really, that's the goal of this, is to get people involved. I've been around doing this way too long. I appreciate what individuals accomplish. So that's what we're here talking to the individuals, and I do this in the middle of the night for the people that work night shifts and are up late at night. We don't have the pressure of the hype of the primetime shows. I'm not trying to compete with anybody. I don't have to do a what's that called? The news anchor type of thing. I don't have to fake nothing. Just have a conversation here, watch my dog sleep. I've added a cactus to the scenery. Let us know what you think of the cactus. We've added a cactus to the stage. But essentially, we're putting this stuff out on a couple of different platforms for a reason. We post that stuff at the beginning there, and then we get into news of the week. Like I said, I didn't fill this out this week, but you've seen me fill it out in front of you right there. We'll grab that information from NSSF. We'll quark it, so to speak. Then we'll talk about stuff that was focused on Second Amendment, which we're here for. There's quite a bit of it this week, some good stuff. Then we've got gun talk. So the stuff that's adjacent to the Second Amendment, right? The stuff that the Second Amendment protects would be guns, a lot of times firearms. So there's lots of people talking about that in interesting and new and relevant ways. It looks like I've got She Fires in there twice. And then we'll talk about radio shows. There's some radio shows that I listen to that are worth mentioning. Same with some military interviews that happen each week that are worth mentioning. And then we'll wrap the show up with some of the stuff that we have done this week. Again, we try to go live every day. And thanks to our Patreons, I'm able to take time every day to spend on hopefully what matters. Encouraging people to be part of this stuff on Mondays, laws and the tech and our history on Tuesdays, having fun on Wednesdays, history on Thursdays, something like that, training, history, something like that on Thursdays. We'll figure it out. And then we wrap up the week on Friday. Saturdays, we do the gun questions, get together with some old folks, and we chat about the old days. And then on Sundays, we talk about knives and trivia and sometimes the bracket or two to have some fun again. So that would be the goal. And again, with twice the amount of Patreons, we'd be doing that for sure. So consider jumping over there or letting people know about that concept. All right, let's dig into news of the week, which I'll just go grab from the can I grab this in a new window or something? I don't really want to pop all my other stuff out. Blocker preventing opening a page. Oh, all right, maybe I can't do it that way. So we're not going to be able to follow along as I'm looking at here, but it's they're saying about it's Thanksgiving. Then it says that a county judge blocks Oregon's Measure 114. So heads up to G23 and the rest of the people in Oregon out there. Haas back in the day and whoever else. I'm trying to remember who else all is in Oregon. But they've had Measure 114, a ballot measure that went through, pretty heinous. And what was also heinous is the amount of blip, the blip that was on everyone's radar, in my opinion. That was pretty much bullshit. It happened the same in Washington. Everybody just sat there. They weren't even watching popcorn. They just didn't even realize what happened in Washington. And it was a heinous paper cut. It was a heinous jab of a ice pick or something, because what they did to Washington was bullshit. And then they did it to Nevada without even thinking. They just calmly walked over and stabbed Nevada the next year, the next election cycle. Washington barely had a chance to understand that they were bleeding to death as far as their laws were. And then luckily in Nevada, they saw the loss of blood and they stopped it. But then essentially a couple of years later, they walked right over to Oregon and did the same thing. And what I'm talking about is the ballot measures, when they let a very rich person hire a bunch of marketing people to create a what's the word, like a narrative, and then to present that narrative in different ways to different people so that they sign a bunch of pieces of paper. And then you take those signatures to the state and you say, look, this is so important that all these people signed it. We must act, and we must do it in shady ways. And that's what happened essentially 3 times that I've been watching. Somebody could challenge my interpretation of it, but so now we're seeing Nevada. Attorney General immediately said, no, we can't enforce this. Although everybody else was down with enforcing it, it seems like. Then it just kind of ended, and everyone barely even went, right? Like nobody even paid attention when that happened. And now we're seeing this happen in Oregon. I'm not sure how much we're seeing as far as, or how much you're seeing as far as people reporting on this. But this is the first I'm seeing of it in the last couple of days. But it says circuit judge ruled that Oregon's Measure 114, an onerous gun control ballot measure that was adopted by the state last year, violates the state's own constitution. Notice the judge found that both the state's permit to purchase scheme and the ban on magazines with a capacity greater than 10 rounds were unconstitutional, and he permanently enjoined the measure from being implemented. So he squished it. Attorney General something told media she would appeal the decision. So they have a hostile for our rights, a hostile Attorney General. NSSF is challenging the measure in federal court as a violation of the National Second Amendment. That case is on appeal to the Courts of Appeal for the Ninth Circuit Court. So NSSF, does that just say, yeah, NSSF is challenging Oregon's measure in federal court. So is NSSF's role taking people to court now, or is it that easy to take people to court? Why am I against taking everybody to court? Is it because everybody's taking everybody to court is like the new cool thing to do or something now? All right, well, so study finds, the next one says, study finds what gun industries owners know. New York is the least free state. Oh, really? Okay. So we're looking at some map here. Let's see if I can open up this map. Okay, that was lame. Is that really all there is to it? So I guess you get this little tiny map. Or not. Okay, that didn't work. Let me try it again. Oh no, it's not going to let me open it in a new tab, huh? Nope. So anyway, it's a map of the states with the states that are lame, with lame laws, I should say, in a dark color, and the states that are perceived as having good laws, I guess, in a yellow color. So it says New York has gone, okay, whatever. It's not much of a surprise that the firearms industry, all right, whatever. Cato Institute released an index of personal and economic freedom, ranking all 50 states on 14 categories of freedom. Okay, so from economic freedoms relating to tax policies to personal freedoms, which included gun rights, overall New York ranked dead last. That wasn't just this year, though. New York has taken dubious distinction every year since 2000, 23 years straight. They're good at being bad at freedom. They've got good or bad company. Hawaii, California, New Jersey, Oregon, and Maryland took the next 5 spots at the bottom of the list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess that's 5. All right, well, so being mean to those states that already know what's happening, but I guess they're illustrating the fact that somebody made a study about that. That's news. I guess if that's news, then that means there's not other news. The next one is ATF publishes solvent trap open letter. The BATF examined devices commonly marketed as solvent traps and has determined that some of them are silencers, as defined by the Gun Control Act and NFA. So they so they classified any device as a solvent. Has not, well done. ATF has not classified any device as a solvent trap because that term does not exist in the relevant federal statutes. However, ATF has classified numerous devices as silencers, even though they're marketed as solvent traps. So essentially, when they send out an open letter, that's a letter from the technology branch refining or making more clear definitions, usually. So this is the kind of shady junk that they do on holiday weekend, Friday night before a holiday week. That's an indication of poor governance, poor, what's the word? Poor stewardship of their office or their responsibilities. Malfeasance, I think, is what Toby's been saying on Cape Gunworks all the time. So I don't know if that's the right word or not, but I like it. And we shouldn't be not paying attention to that kind of stuff. Oh, now you're getting the full mirror thing going on. Am I able to get in on this or what? Where's my Streamlab at? Oh yeah, I'm barely getting in on this. It just took a while to feed. So we'll I don't know if that's getting annoying. Let me know. Then we are on to federal news. I don't know why that wasn't federal news, but Biden's campaign suggests Trump presidency would usher violent crime. Well, that sounds certainly like distraction bullshit. So I don't know why NSSF is telling us about that. Shame on them. That's garbage. Representative Green blasts Biden's admin unprecedented firearms export pause. So somebody from Tennessee, a representative from Tennessee, criticized the administration for pausing exports as politically motivated attack against the industry. I think they're just reporting on that. I don't know if they're saying anything happened to it. So now we have Massachusetts going down to state news down here. I would show you this, but I can't get it to pop out of my email for whatever reason. I have some setting, so I have to just show you this. Nothing on the screen, sorry. Massachusetts committee to hold gun hearing. Last week, the Joint Committee on Public Safety hold a hearing on November 28th at 11 a.m. in the Gardner Auditorium at the State House. The committee will be hearing over 50 firearms-related bills. Oh, okay, so this is probably the Senate committee, I guess. The committee will be hearing over 50 firearms-related bills. This is where the recently passed gun control bill from the State House of Representatives should have been heard instead of the procedural maneuvering House leadership did to pass. Oh, okay. NSSF is asking everyone to send in written testimony or attend the hearing in person. If you'd like to attend, the deadline to sign up is Friday, November 24th. Oh, shit. So that's bad. Shouldn't be doing all that. Couldn't do nothing about that. But I did not know about that. I don't think I heard about that. So it's evidently it's still the House, I think is what it's saying. The State House Committee on Public Safety and Security will be looking at those bills, and maybe they'll kill those bills because, again, they're unreasonable, they're unrealistic, they're not actionable, they're not affordable, they're not possible to happen. They're just a bunch of theoretic wish list garbage from people that don't understand the issues or the technology. So they're just a bunch of words that really, the reason people are against them is because they're not enforceable. They're just, some of them are dumb and unnecessary for sure. So interesting to see that they're going to be still working at it. Woods is saying still parallax. Is it messing up? Are you talking like the audio or are you talking about this? Let's see. So then it says the Massachusetts Gun Violence Task Force targets the firearms industry. Massachusetts Attorney General, whatever, created a gun violence prevention unit headed up by who pledged to use civil and criminal litigation to target the firearms industry. That's addressing misleading marketing practices, product defects, as well as prosecuting illegal trafficking that enable bad actors in the gun industry. She will speak with gun owners, law enforcement, survivors of criminal violence, and advocacy groups, which can only be construed as gun control organizations. All right, so that's 2 about Massachusetts now. Now we get one about Tennessee. Governor abandons red flag legislation. Today, their governor announced he would not press the state's legislature to pass an emergency risk protection order bill. The bill was a priority of the special session called by the guy earlier this year. I'm not looking to bring that bill. I'm looking for an opportunity in this next session to continue work on public safety. Okay. So then next one is judge rules to allow California to share private gun owner data. So Court of Appeals in the 5th District ruled that the state officials can share identifying information of gun owners with a research center, scrapping a lower court's preliminary injunction, adding that the trial court didn't consider the state's interest in researching so-called gun violence. State law requires that California keeps records of nearly all handgun and ammunition transfers. The legislature directed the Regents of the University of California in 2016 to create a firearms violence research center. Oh, really? I didn't know that's where it came from. And amended state law in the following years to ensure the state provides all necessary data, including identifying information, to the center upon request. NSSF is monitoring. Well, now I'm pissed because Firearms Violence Research Center is garbage. It's like not propaganda. It's just like dumbass. It's really dumb. It's like wrong. It's bad data. And it's not even bad for any way. It's just bad. Like they did poor research and nobody double checked on anything. And they have never taken any feedback from it because it's garbage. So the fact that it's being used, I thought it was just a private entity, and any private entity can put up dumbass shit. If it's a real resource that is allegedly being used by the state, then that's messed up because it's garbage. So my audio isn't working. Is that what's happening? We're almost done. So then, so that's messed up. I didn't know about the maybe I'm thinking of it different. No, I think I'm thinking of that. I'll have to go look at it. Next is from Indiana. Bill to reverse preemption law introduced. And they expect it's going to fail. And in Maryland, their handgun permit law failed. The Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals struck down the handgun qualification license requirement as unconstitutional and found that Maryland's law fails. In the 30-day waiting period to qualify for a gun license and another 7 days to wait are completed. No, it says they violate the Second Amendment. There we go. Under the challenge scheme, an applicant without a firearm cannot possess or carry one until they are approved. That can take 30 days, and the law's waiting period could be the critical time in which the applicant needs to face danger, or which he expects to face danger. So the temporary deprivation of that, I don't know what those words are. I don't know what any of these words are. Second Amendment is, anyway, so it's bad that they're depriving people of their rights, I guess is what they're trying to say. This is the second time that the Fourth Circuit Court reversed a lower court on Maryland's gun licensing laws. So an appeal is expected. I don't know if I've seen this. I've seen some reviews of this. We probably will talk about it on the Instagram one because I've seen people take pictures of this. I'm almost positive it wasn't on YouTube, but it says NBC poll finds more than half of U.S. households armed, and 52% of the voters that they polled said that them or someone in their household owns a gun. And it's essentially all the different ones went up, all the different political parties, Republican, Democrat, and Independent. And they all went up at different times. And then it's a bunch of stuff for NSSF. So now we'll close out of that and move on to the next portion so that everybody doesn't have to look at this thing. I should have said, though, this is a good time to buy things at gearwebsites.com. I'm just saying. Let me give you this. This isn't engineered or nothing. Let's just say this is just casually dropping a commercial there.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
All right. So now we'll get back and we'll get to, I was just reading my emails before, and I couldn't get my email to show up without showing all my other email stuff. So I was just reading it off another screen, and I wasn't paying attention to what was on the screen. I guess I could have flipped it over to the dog and his cactus. Dog has a little cactus next to him now. He's got the cactus for that vibe. All right, so we're getting into the 2A news of the week, and we've got the, I already talked about it in a second ago in the NSSF thing there, but federal court in the Fourth Circuit struck down the requirement for a citizen to obtain a HQL, which is lame. They shouldn't have called it that anyway. But like I like carry license, I guess, or carry permit. I don't like permits or nothing, but carry, maybe concealed carry, dependent. But qualification, I don't like that one. It's too long of a word. Anyway, thanks to Maryland, 2amaryland.org, who is the first one that I heard about that from. Then we get into the 2A stuff that happened this week, and I put it usually in order of how 2A it is, the most 2A stuff at the top, and that's why Brooke Cheney's project is almost always right at the top. Her Suicide Prevention Saturday is a consistent, every Saturday she goes live. It's a consistent effort to create awareness, to normalize the conversation about mental health, and make it possible to have real conversations about suicide prevention. Now, obviously, we're not talking about people learning how to work on a suicide hotline or anything like that. It's normalizing the conversation about mental health. The idea that people can have a physical problem and we can talk about it, but mental health, there's this barrier. It's like just not done. So Brooke offers a consistent effort to work towards that, changing that paradigm. I think it's one of the most important things we could be working on, and her effort is the only one like it. And there's some other things that we could use as a community, but that's all theoretical and potential. Brooke is actually creating this one of the strongest things being done in the community for years now. And then we get to Maryland, because all the stuff that's going on in Maryland, and it happened earlier in the week, so it got put up in the list here. But this is one of the shops in Maryland, and they were doing an update from on the road, so to speak. Kingpin, one of our friends in Maryland, somebody who's bought me French fries before, posting about it. Then we have Crump, who lives in Virginia, I think, talking about it. And then we got dude from, where is this guy? I don't know, probably Virginia or something. But he did a bunch. He does videos all the time, but he did one on the Oregon situation. Fall asleep. And now we have armed attorneys. They do premieres. So they film videos, they edit them up so that they look all good. They get rid of all the dead spaces and people drinking coffee and dogs waking up, and they edit all that stuff out so it's smoother. But they do premieres. So somebody's usually listening to the premiere and they'll interact with you in the comments. But presentations, they're doing informational videos. They're not real long. They're usually definitely under 10 minutes. So sometimes mostly under 5 minutes, I'd say maybe. Well, maybe a little bit longer. But this one was on the idea that if the ATF is successful in expanding the scope of what engaged in the business of selling firearms is, right? If the ATF successfully is able to redefine their interpretation of who needs to have a gun shop. Again, we're not trying to make this complicated. This is what they're trying to do is a complicated thing. Describing it, therefore, is not easy. But if they're successful in their latest attempt to suggest that guns are so bad that we shouldn't even be able to transfer amongst ourselves, then you wouldn't want to ever make a bill of sale going forward. You would want to do transfers of ownership, and the monetary value would no longer be written down or be part of the transaction. Other things would be, compensation or to facilitate the transactions going forward. And they talk about some of that from like the lawyer's position. I don't know if it's good to think about how to comply or if it's better to make sure we never need to comply. I keep having the yawns. Sorry. So the next one is Crump again, talking about that ATF or the Solvent scenario with ATF freaking out about solvent traps. And then last we got Locked and Loaded. They're saying that this will be their last show. So the last time they had a show was 2 weeks ago, and they said, "Oh, we're coming back for good. We'll be back here, and everything will be back to normal." And essentially, a couple weeks later is their very next show. They're saying they're not going to be there anymore. And on Sundays, She Fire goes live. We're getting into the gun chat more. Although I could easily put She Fires in the 2A side, but since she's talking about a gun show and the questions were kind of all over the place, I left it in the gun side. In fact, I put it in here twice, I'm pretty sure. Alex Uli was on Monday as a guest on our interview day. On Mondays, we interview Second Amendment advocates when we can. And he had a fairly short message type of thing, which people that are creating channels are apt to do. He did it as a video. Say thanks for his, to where he's able to do. This is, I think it was Armed and Styled, and she just changed her name to a different channel name. And I don't know how many people are paying attention to the channels that I follow along, but there's a bunch of channels that I'll watch no matter what they put out. I'll watch it, friends of mine or whatever. And then there's videos that I'll watch that are interesting that aren't friends of mine necessarily, but because of the topic or because of some other relevance, I'm going to watch those videos. And then there's channels that I follow that I don't really watch the videos. I'm just watching the channel develop and grow. I'm here for the long run. I've been around on YouTube since 2009. I'm not going anywhere. So I watch channels come and go. And I watch projects develop, change, evolve, right? Have ups and downs, and all that's interesting, and all that, something you pay attention to. You're allowed to pay attention to that, especially when the people in the projects make a big point of making, documenting that, making it part of their channel. And that's what, I guess her name is Tessah. That's what she did. I never knew what her name was. But she's changed her channel up now that her husband is out of the Army, and they're going to be focusing on more stuff. So their channel's going to change. So what was one of the better female firearms evolution through the type of firearms training and awareness and development and carry, really. She was armed and styled. She was all about how to carry as a female so that it was comfortable, useful, and then whatever the word is, like hidden, attractive, like with fancy clothes, with whatever, like girly. We're guys, we just care if it's printing or not. We don't actually care if our pants match anything usually. So this was more of a girl channel in the fashion side, but then she developed into the more of the training and the aspects of carry, and now she's evolving even more. I put this one in here because even if you're not following her channel, hopefully you see that has happened with other channels. It will happen with channels. It's not inevitable, but it's certainly a common occurrence for a person who runs a YouTube channel to get involved in something else. Look at Matt and his dolls. That guy started out as a let's talk about TV, and then he got into prepping in 2012 with the end of the world stuff, and then he got into politics, and now he's back into kind of sci-fi and nerd stuff with his dolls and talking about movies all the time. So there's people that change and evolve and do their thing, and there's people that are most of everybody changes to some extent. I guess I was going to say there's people that they're going to leave a wake. They're going to leave a hollow point behind. For example, if this girl gets into camping and driving around in a Toyota, you know how Toyota people are, and guns are just an accessory, or they go back to just being a thing that she's already mastered and she's on to mastering something else. We don't have a young person who's a part of a couple who is learning and sharing and leading an example as a content creator and a gun owner. So it's neat that these people come through and they're very effective, but their goal isn't to be here. Their goal is to do their thing, and they happen to come through here. We'll keep moving. Chris 740 doing a chat on Wednesday. He doesn't do them all the time. He's also posting a bunch of stuff. Chris is kind of like Tessah, except a different way, different kind of life, different kind of focus. But he's a little bit newer to the scene as far as content creation than she is. And you can see him developing the way that he shoots and the types of stuff he shoots and the way his lives run. Next is the overnight. Now, is there already a Matt is Never Enough Ammo? Sorry, that's a friend of mine that I've been chatting with long time. So I just call him Matt, but it's Never Enough Ammo is his channel. Let's see. So the Foss does his show on Saturday nights, similar to this one, in the evenings or the overnight, depending on where you're at in the country. He alternates. One day it's one week it is focused on a topic, and then the next week it's just a conversation, general lounge type of conversation show. Last week it was the conversation show or the topic show. That means this week it'll be the conversation show. It'll be the mouse party. Anybody that's up in the middle of the night is welcome to join, participate, be part of the conversation. Speaking of conversations, we all saw that Gizzard sent his audience over when he got done quirking us this morning or this afternoon, whatever, when he ended his show. So he does a show on Fridays right before this one. And in addition, he's out there making knife reviews all the time. He's got a knife store if you're interested in grabbing some CIVIVIs, some of the finest, smoothest flipping open knives that I've been playing with. So he's showing off this BullTusk. So, I was thinking bull fang. I guess, do bulls have a tusk? Bulls don't really have a tusk anyway. So I don't know where they get a bull tusk from, but imagine if bulls had a tusk, that would it look like. Pretty nice looking one though. I didn't think Gizzard likes the holes in the blade. So if he doesn't want that one, if he's sick of it, I'll deal with the lock blade, even though, or the what is that, frame lock? It's either frame lock or a liner lock. probably a frame lock. But I could deal with that for that one. Fancy Damascus. Then we have Cape Gunworks doing a couple of minutes with their Python. They have a Colt Python in the store. So Toby kind of played around and chatted a bit about its history and the movies and the pieces of media that it's in. Mentioned Gizzard does his show right before this one. That was the actual show. It might still be going on. We don't know. He's probably in there doing the off-air. Little secret, if you're watch a show and there's a whole bunch of people in it and it ends, it goes off-air, those people don't just jump out. I mean, some people jump out sometimes, but most of the time, all those people just hang out and chat off-air. So when we say blah, 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 off-air chat, that's what we mean. Is one of these chats that is live ends, we can just all jump in there still. And it's not recording. It's not broadcasting anywhere. But we can still have our conversation and share screens, and it's pretty handy. So one of the reasons that these live conversations have been such a big part of people's online time is because the live part of it is a lot of fun. The interactivity, we can bring stuff up on the screen. What is the small blade one? Like Woods is saying, what is the small blade one? This part of these tools are really neat. I have a whole bunch of tools I could be using in here. I just have been distracted trying to pay off a bunch of bills and stuff here the last couple of months. But once we get into playing around again, we'll be playing around with a lot of these tools. And then the off-air, we still have access to all those tools. Well, pretty much all those tools. So it's pretty neat. Foss is saying that the off-air chats can last longer than the chats themselves. Quite often, for sure, especially if it's just a 1 hour chat. It's easy to stay off air because the thing is, on an off air chat, there's pause. Everybody can say, hey, I'm going to leave, go get a sandwich or whatever, and come back and mute themselves instead of coughing into the mic, and then leave for a while and come back. And if there's 8 people in there, you don't even notice when somebody leaves. It's essentially like having a bar or a deli or a water cooler, whatever you want to say, a place to hang out. All right, well, I gotta call it. I can see it. Does anybody watch this thing? Behind the scenes with the Gun Owners of America. I don't know. If you watch it, I'd be curious to hear your comments on it for sure. I'm gonna try to. It's Thanksgiving after all, so I'll just move on. But if you've seen that, let's have an off-air conversation about that one. How about that? Let's do that. Let's have an off-air conversation about that one. So there's a couple of radio shows, 4 radio shows I used to listen to, and then I quit listening to one of them, so I got down to 3. Then one of them switched and isn't really a radio show anymore, more of an intermittent podcast. And then the one on Sundays is out of California, and they glitch half the dang time if I'm home to listen to them. And this week, I'm trying to remember. I think this week we had a pretty good run with it. And probably about right at the end, I think it glitched. They lost their cell signal or something that they were streaming with. So we lost the end of the show. But hanging out with the people, Mike White, Mr. Knives, some of the others from California, was always fun. Catching up with them on Sundays. And then Toby's show on Cape Gunworks, they do their show on Wednesdays. They got cut off too, and I have no idea why. Right midstream, show has been cut for, I forget what they say why, but boom, cut it right off. And so we do have the Grace Curley show. So Toby goes live on Tuesdays to host a 45-minute conversation with a radio show that's I'm pretty sure it's in Boston. And people call into the radio show and ask questions about guns or gun laws or stuff adjacent to that. And Toby's there to answer questions. He's remote from the gun shop. And while he's on the radio, he's also streaming on YouTube. So he'll start the show earlier than the radio show segment. so that he can kind of get ready and get everything set up. And during that time, he's chatting with the people on YouTube. Then he'll do the show, and that 45 minutes has 2 different breaks in it. So during those breaks, he'll usually interact with the people that are on YouTube. And then when the segment's over and the radio show cuts out, he'll usually, if he's got the time in the day to do it, he'll stay live and answer any questions that might have come up, or reiterate or follow his, complete his thoughts on something that he didn't have time on the radio show portion. So it's usually about an hour, a little bit longer sometimes, show. And that becomes the kind of warm up for the Wednesday radio show, which is usually 2 hours. All right. So pretty soon, I'm hoping next week to get into gun calendars a little bit and update it. It's just a matter of maintenance. I have to do some maintenance to keep it going all the dang time. So usually I have to do that every month or two, and I haven't been able to for the last month or so. But we keep the placeholder here, and the idea is that we have a website called guncalendars.com, and when it's up and running at full speed, its goal is to inform people of course, holidays and special events, but anniversaries of important things that have to do with our rights, laws, people that are critical to where we're at today, and then inventions and some other things. I put some military history in there, or military holidays in there as well, as once in a while I put something in there like Chocolate Donut Day or Pet a Puppy Day or whatever, just to give people something to chat about at the water cooler, at the gun shop, at the range, at the gun show, so that we're all aware and guns are normal, and gun history, if they're going to talk about history on the radio, include gun history in that. All right. So even though this is gun stuff and Second Amendment stuff, every single time we talk about military interviews, and I have not yet had any reason to change my opinion on this, these things are as some of the more interesting things you can listen to as a Second Amendment advocate. There's so many parallels with the issues, some of the issues that veterans are dealing with, both tactically, strategically during their employment or during missions or whatever you want to say, and as well as their transition from military to civilian, and all the reasons and difficulties in transitions and ease and variables that are there. A lot of that stuff is analogous to some of our positions in our fights. Not 100%, but these are people that are able to do stuff, and they're willing to have conversations about it. So while there's other people doing interesting things and accomplishing great stuff, rarely do they, at least I'm not aware of them, having hours-long conversations about it. Plus, it's just neat to see the variety of people that have, for whatever, there's a variety of reasons, chose to serve the country and to learn about how they did it and what their experience was like. So this week it was two of my favorites. The SEAL guy who does a show called Mic Drop, the way I first started listening to for these shows. And then another guy who's a pilot, and then he was in the CIA, and that's called Combat Story. His show is called Combat Story. So Combat Story went to Mic Drop's place and interviewed Mic Drop. So it was kind of a cool guy from, I think, Florida or someplace, Virginia maybe, goes to Texas to interview the Texas guy at his studio. So the guy from Texas got out of the interviewer seat and went into the I'm getting interviewed seat. So it was a great conversation. Since they've both interviewed each other before, it got more in depth and more, it went into more areas than the initial interviews can be. So really good one, worth checking out. Ghost had his Jarhead podcast for the holidays, and he had somebody that had some issues with the veterans hotline, and kind of talked about that. And I've been listening to this one. This was kind of interesting, though, listening to a guy who, wait, is this the one I'm listening to? The guy who interviewed a guy who was a hacker. Wait, is that what happened? I think the one guy, no, I think I'm listening to the wrong one. I might have linked to the wrong one here. I've been listening to one where a guy was a spy, and the person wrote a story about this guy who was a spy. So I think I linked to the wrong one. Sean Ryan's are pretty good. He's a SEAL also. I mean, you can listen to SEALs. They're just not as good as listening to people from the Army. But, you got to listen to them, I suppose. Next up is the stuff that we got done this week, and we've been kicking back in. Thanks again to our Patreons and the people that buy stuff over at the store. People that buy stuff from the Amazon links, thanks for that as well. If you're one of those folks, I really appreciate it. That's allowed us to focus on what I'd like to be doing full time, and I had done full time in the past, so I understand what I'm missing here. But on Mondays, the goal would be to talk about activism, talk about being an activist, talk about how to facilitate that with if it's inspiration or if it's motivation, if it's technical speak, if it's listening to people's origin stories and experiences. So whenever I bring somebody on for an interview as a Second Amendment activist, I'm interested in why they do what they do and how they do what they do, because there's other conversations out there about who they are, how they got there, their origin story, the inspiration for their project or their organization that they created, and then the origin story of that organization. Those are valid, and I just don't want to reiterate that. Like, other people are doing that, we don't need to do it again. So when we only have limited time with these people who have done or are accomplishing great things for our overall movement, right, our overall rights, instead of just bringing them on and repeating the same old thing again, I try to give them an hour, as much time as they want, but an hour we schedule an hour to talk about why they do what they do and then how they do what they do. And I think it was a great conversation. Alex is an attorney from Indiana, and he has a really interesting approach, and is definitely very freedom oriented. So the conversation, we ended up inviting them back. So it went so well that I wish it could. I can do a 5-hour show, but other people aren't usually interested in doing 5-hour shows. So it was the kind of show that's like part 1 of part 5 or 5 parts or something. Jumped over to look at the results of the poll, and it looks like good week for 2A is coming in with the majority of the votes at 56%. No votes at all for bad week. So what's up with that? I guess since I'm over at Gun Calendars, we do have the anniversary of Browning passing away. That'll be on Sunday. The Brady bill was signed next Thursday. Nix went online next Thursday, and the national 5-day waiting period was repealed also next Thursday on the 30th of November. So it must have been some laws, or that must be a fancy time to do laws, or a common time to do laws, I guess. All right, so in addition to the interview with Alex earlier this week, and we trying to get Brooke Cheney on for Monday, for the interview on Monday. If I can't, we'll do a rewind of something, but we've been bouncing emails back and forth. She's pretty busy. Let's see. We also had on Tuesdays, we do coaching. So I thought I did a pretty good job having to do it all myself, doing the coaching show, talking about content creation. I forget what I was talking about. Let's see. Then we did a couple of chats throughout the week because of Black Friday's coming. Again, thanks to all the people who choose to buy stuff on our Amazon links or on Gizzard's Amazon links or over on Gear Report or on CloverTac or Snob or Bullets and Bucks from Wyoming. people have these Amazon channels, and we get 2%, 4%, couple of percent for whatever you might buy. It kind of depends on the item, but it all accumulates. The pennies literally add up. Pennies and pennies and pennies and pennies add up. It's crazy when you have the largest store on the planet. So, your decision to purchase stuff isn't make it or break it, but it's certainly appreciated. It certainly adds to those piles of pennies, and it's been pretty freaking lucrative. If you're interested in that stuff, get with somebody who's interested in helping you out, like myself or Clover and one of the others, and I don't want to speak for them, but find out if it's something you're interested in. Let's see. I think that's about. Oh, we got one more. We do the same kind of show, except on Wednesdays we talk about Instagrams. So I do essentially the same thing. I try to take some of the stuff that's on Instagram and talk to people on YouTube about it. That's one goal. I do this in the morning before the Cape Gunworks show, so that we can link people and send people over to the Cape Gunworks show. It's seriously my favorite thing to listen to each week. So I want to let people know about it and do what I can with the channel to point people over there, give it as much help as we can on the logarithm. But the people who are on Instagram, for example, Ed's Manifesto, one of my favorite channels over there. Still, there's been other channels in the past, but a lot of people have ditched Instagram a long time ago. But Ed's Manifesto, he posts on Instagram things that he wouldn't post on YouTube, and he probably can't post on YouTube. So being able to follow just creative and interesting people who are getting stuff done, don't have time to go on YouTube, just don't have the interest to go on YouTube. The goal is to cross those streams. So we go live an hour, sometimes 2, sometimes more, but usually I got other things to do. So an hour or 2, hour and a half until the Cape Gunworks starts their radio show, and then I'll wrap it up. But pretty good week. If you notice over here on the side, one of the things in the thumbnail is shooting parasport. Is one of many international shooting sports where people around the world compete at an international level, and there's the medals. What I'm going to try to say, the international shoot just wrapped up recently, and it looks like USA came out with 3 golds, 1 silver, and 3 bronze, and overall win. So congratulations to the USA para shooting team. Often, not paid attention to or made aware of. So we wanted to give them a thanks. There are a lot of different international shooting competitions getting ready for the Olympics next year in Paris. We want to normalize guns. The Olympics are there's been guns in every single Olympics. Let's just put it that way. Since there's been modern Olympics, at least. And back in the old days, they shot slings and arrows and stuff. So there's always been shooting parts. There's always been projectile throwing in the being accurate with the projectile has always been part of the Olympics. All right. So with that, I think we're almost done, or we are done. If I can find my mouse. What screen is it on? All right, I guess I had some more. We had a 30-minute trivia challenge earlier in the week. There was nothing going on, and everybody was bored, or nobody was live, and I was bored. So went live and did a 30-minute challenge. Going to try to do more and more of those, especially with the holidays and stuff. So if you're interested, join in those things. Gives us the, right away, gives us some feedback to keep doing them. On Sundays, we go live and talk about knives. We'll be doing that again this Sunday, I suspect, depending on... Oh, wait a minute. No, wait, I might not be doing it. Depends on how things go tomorrow with the mouse party and my other projects. But you never know what Gizzard's doing. It is a holiday weekend, and I can't speak for Gizzard, but he is comfortable pulling long format shows on Sunday mornings, just saying. All right, well, we didn't get a lot of feedback from people chatting tonight. Woods was out there saying it was, is Stoner's birthday coming up also? I didn't mention everything on the calendar over there. This is a month when it's not very filled, But if we went back a month or so, when I'm able to pay attention, I try to get something for every single day of the month, so that, again, the idea is to normalize guns, right? To give people some ammunition, pun intended, give us, knowledge, information. I guess I could zoom in on this instead of not zooming in on it, but give us information so that each day we have something to talk about. Now, it might be something as simple as the largest gun show in the world is happening right now in Oklahoma. You're having a conversation with somebody at the gas station or whatever, or maybe not the gas station, but wherever it's appropriate, blah, 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 about gun shows. And then it's like, oh, do you know where the largest gun show in the world is? They might go, I don't know, California, Arizona. Nope, Oklahoma. Oh, really? Panhandle State. You're kidding me. So that might be interesting. When the NRA was chartered back in 1871, hopefully those kind of things, although they're not necessary, they're not like critical to anybody's plans for the day, might give us some perspective. The NRA has been around since 1871. Bloomberg, the 20th richest guy on the planet, pays a lot of money to have the NRA go away. Maybe people will take a pause next time somebody's just knee-jerk yanking on the NRA's chain, right? Instead of like going, hey, you know what? That thing's been around since 1871. It was just their birthday and we're talking shit. Why don't we just get rid of Wayne and take that thing and run it around like it's our property, like it's ours to drive around again? Pretty sure we're allowed to do that unless you're not good at thinking outside that box. So with that, we're wrapping it up. Thanks everybody for joining us. We did have a poll going, and as I mentioned, good work or good week for 2A1. Kind of always does, unless something heinous is happening. Normally, I try to have a little bit more bullet point stuff for you instead of making you look at a dead screen there. So that was not typical. Next week, I'm hoping to have more time to, now that Black Friday is over, I should have more time to give you a normal layout for the show next week. Not this crazy multiple screen thing that's happening right now. I guess I could just do this and give you a full puppy shot. This week, Puppy's going to learn how to embroider, cross stitch, I guess. So I got him an easy cross stitch of two tigers fighting in the water with a bunch of orchids or whatever, those lotus flowers, and a cherry tree. It's no big deal. And then some clouds and a spaceship. So, yeah, I don't think it's that difficult for a dog to cross stitch, and it'll be a fun series of videos teaching them to do it. I'm going to do it with shock collars and biscuits. When he's embroiders well, he'll get a biscuit, and when he doesn't embroider fast enough, or if he ever misses a stitch, it's the shock collar. This dog likes to eat little bits of gizzard from Nutro. All right, well, I gave people time to say something. Nobody is. That tells me everybody's sleeping or done with this thing. So we're ending it. My other dog woke up. Oh, it's because she heard these biscuits being dished out. Here you go, Mello. Biscuit for Mello. All right. How about if I punch him in the face? He said not to shock yet, but what about punching him in the face a bunch of times? All right, well, he's waking up. Maybe he wants to go play around. I've got the giant bed from the van laying in the living room on the floor. So this little dude thinks it's the funnest thing ever, to, no matter what, if he's running down the hallway, if he's running from the kitchen, whatever he's doing, he now runs to this giant pillow and launches onto it. So he looks like he woke up. He's going to go run around, jump on his pillow a bunch of times. Notice the cactus. Thanks for joining us. Thanks again to the people that purchase stuff over at our gear website store. We don't mention it enough, but we do have a store over there, and on Fridays, you get all kinds of free stuff. Since it's Black Friday, we don't really do nothing for Black Friday. We let the stores worry about that. Tomorrow is Small Business Saturday. I encourage you to go check out your local gun shop or the range. If you got a gun show you can go to, right on. But then Cyber Monday, that's when we jump back in, because our store is a cyber store. So if it's possible, I'm going to spend some time tomorrow getting our Cyber Monday stuff good to go. So if you got a couple of bucks left over and you want to throw some of that capitalist resource our way, we will certainly use it, not just to feed a baby dog's mouth full of gizzard giblets, but maybe fixing up the front end of the van a little bit, maybe throwing some gas in it, and maybe getting back onto the road. We're getting very, very close to those days again. All right, can't stop petting this dog because he's got a pettable head. Thanks, everybody, for joining us again. We will throw a couple of commercials up here. This one is for that store I mentioned earlier.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
And then our friend Patriot digs this exit, so we'll exit with the our ninja finale.
Shit. Ninja? Ninja! Ninja!
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America.